Hello and welcome to episode 10 of Up the Pilgrims, the podcast of Boston United of the National League North. I am joined once again by Stedders and by David. Hi folks, how you doing?
All right, thanks.
Decent.
And we have a special guest today. You might have seen him at Alfreton or Scunthorpe or one of the other many games that he's been to, or you might have seen him on YouTube as he is the host of Match Days. Welcome, Joe Skelton. How are you doing?
I'm very good. How are you all? Thanks for having me on this podcast.
That's no problem. So we're gonna talk about obviously the thing that's been on Boston United's mind since obviously Saturday, the big game, Scunthorpe United. Tom, how are you feeling?
Oh, really good, mate. How can we not feel good after that performance? Not exactly how we wanted it if we put it on paper after 120 minutes and penalties at Alfreton on Tuesday. But we got the job done, didn't we? It was a decent game, to be honest with you. Even at 0-0, I thought it was quite a decent game with both sides potentially trying to go for it. Boston just sat in so well, though, didn't they? I used the word last week on the podcast, and I use it again this week, resilient. So resilient, and trying to just keep that clean sheet and make sure they limit them to a few chances. Maybe one penalty they should have had, but there's a handball our end that maybe should have gone our way as well. I'm sure we'll probably come on to them as well. But beyond, I think that, again, the crowd must also take a lot of plaudits for that as well, because they were right behind them, weren't they? All 1,500 of us out of the 8,000 certainly made our presence known. But yeah, job done, Damo, and one cup final to go.
Yeah, of course, and I'm surprised that they got 1,500 plus in that away end. Obviously there was, but I mean we were packed in like sardines. I'll be honest. Got a little war wound as well when I was when the save was made. I was kind of pushed into the chair in front of me, and it was only that my friend that was next to me saved me. Thankfully, I might have ended up on the pitch a bit earlier, but. It was worth it, though. It was worth it. David?
Yeah, I was about to say it was a whole day just getting there, seeing all the coaches stacked up outside. You knew we were ready. The players were up for it. We were up for it. Especially fans, we were backing them all game. I have to say, amazing from everybody who's there. And I'm sure we'll get onto it later. Is this diabolical allocation that everybody there will not be there? That was on Saturday will not be there this Saturday for the big important game. But I just think it's a testament to everybody that we all came together, and that will stick in everyone's minds. It's at least we had that one good performance where we really saw, like, I don't know, like it's different this year. We're all really, really united. We're all central as one, aiming. Well, even it's never been this connected before between the players and the fans. We're all aiming for that same thing, and I'm sure we'll get over the line Saturday, but we'll have to see. Like I say, go back to the occasion. It was great to see everybody on the pitch. I got a few videos on my phone of a buzzer on this one lad's head singing Boston chants. It was amazing. One in a lifetime opportunity. I know the Boston fans love a pitch invasion. I'm sure Joe's covered a few over the years. But it was just a great day out, really, and one that will stick in the memory for a long, long time.
I must admit, I've had one friend of mine saying, "Oh, you've drawn 2 matches and you've invaded the pitch. You've been on the pitch and you're getting a bit excited a bit too soon, aren't you?" But I mean, it's the occasion, isn't it? It's a penalty shootout. It's not often Boston United have won a penalty shootout. They've won 2 in a row now. Of course, the fans are going to get a bit excited, aren't they? And and especially on Saturday, beating Scunthorpe as well. I mean. Obviously, at the beginning of the season, the favourites to go up, everyone thought they was going to, win the league and probably go straight up. And even their fans were convinced they were going to win the league, but it hasn't happened. But Joe, I mean, what's your perspective of it all?
I just find it funny the fact that Boston have got to the final without even scoring a goal in 90 minutes. I think it's absolutely brilliant. But I think you go back to your point. I think you're absolutely right, T. I think there was the resilience from the team, certainly over the last 2 games, have been absolutely superb. And I think certainly for the eliminator, it could have been a lot easier for Boston to try and be played into the hands of Alfreton and playing that long ball football, and they could have been dragged into that. But they kept the nerve when they needed to. I think Gregory's been probably the standout player in the playoffs this season. I think he's between the sticks. He's been unbelievable. But I think you're right. I think the game on Saturday, to say 8,000 were there for a semi-final clash in the 6th tier, unbelievable. Really, I mean, it shows the, really good, the passion and the support of the football clubs. And the game certainly was there for both teams. I think Boston, like I say, they set up well. They had chances, and you're kind of thinking, as you get to that 70th, 80th minute, Scunthorpe have had that extra day rest, and are they going to be a bit tired, Boston? But that second win, I think, really did sort of help it. So, to get over the line, I think is the important thing. But like I say, I think you're absolutely right. One cup final, I think, you just got to go for it. They cannot be passive and kind of hold themselves back on Saturday. So they've got to go for it, and what will be. And like I say, if they don't get over the line, but at least then they can say, look, we've had a go at it. But I'd like to see Boston back in the 50s. It's been too long for a club that, again, when growing up, I associated with the Football League, and it's important for them that one day they can get back there and really challenge at the sharp end.
Yeah, got to totally agree with you on that one. Hopefully, I mean, I feel the fan base that Boston have got and the ground that they've got, it's I've called them a sleeping giant of non-league football in a way. I mean, there's so many more fans could come along as well to games. Not just like roughly the 1,600 that they roughly get at a home game. The success, I think, will bring in more fans and will show what a big club, Boston can actually be, which will be fantastic, really. But having a look at the game in a little bit more depth, I mean, Scunthorpe thought they should have had a penalty. Tom, do you think they were aggrieved?
Looking back on different replays from different angles, it's one that could be easily given by the referee, isn't it? But I can also see the reason why he didn't give it as well. It was a bit clumsy from Jordan Richards at the back there, I think, to put his arms around him a little bit, which helped him make his decision to go to the ground. But again, the referee made his decision. It was very clear on his decision. It wasn't like he waited for it to happen. He put it straight for the goal kick. He didn't contemplate it or go and have a chat with his assistant or anything like that. It was very, very clear from the referee. And like I say, there was one the opposite end as well. Not that we're going to favour Boston too much in this one, but it was a bit of an handball the other end as well by Ogle, who, by the way, I thought was Scunthorpe's man of the match as well. The guy, the Aussie who played absolutely fantastic at them at their right back, I think he was, or left back, can't remember which one he was. But he causes problems all day long, overlapping, didn't he, down his side. Definitely their strongest player on the day, I thought. But yeah, Scunthorpe can feel a little bit aggrieved from that penalty, but they can't feel aggrieved overall. I think basically Boston showed their mettle in the extra time. They looked more, surprisingly, they looked even more dead on their feet after the extra time as well. I thought it'd be more us showing that. It should have been, but they were the ones getting more treatment. And even Cully said that in his interview, didn't he, afterwards, that they were the ones that looked a bit more tired than us, which is remarkably said. So yeah, I don't think Scunny can have too many complaints. I think the only complaint they can have is that they should have really, on paper, walked this league and had this done by January. We said this, but unfortunately, games are not won on paper; they're won on grass, and they're going to be ruining all them chances that they missed. Buxton home and away, I think they dropped points, didn't they? I think they lost both of them games. That would have been games that they should really be winning, especially at home. And numerous other ones. And again, they dropped 4 points against Boston this season, didn't they? We drew 2 games with them, which meant that we always had that in our back pocket going into that game on Saturday, didn't we? That we knew that if we got to them, that we're well in with a shout. And it came to fruition in the end, didn't it? So, yeah, fantastic from the Boston boys. And like I say, just a little trip to Alfreton now to go and get this job finished.
You mean to Brackley?
Oh yeah, Alfreton's done. Apologies. Yeah.
We've done Alfreton.
Don't really want to go back there then.
You don't really want to go back to Alfreton. We've done Alfreton now. We're going to Brackley instead, shall we?
We'll finish off with Brackley. Let's do it properly, shall we?
Yeah. Let's go there. I mean, I don't know about you, David, but I felt this game felt different on Saturday as well compared to the one in January when we drew 2-2 with them as well. I mean, Boston were much more. They were stronger defensively. midfield. I mean, I think we did speak before on the podcast about how the team has grown in strength. And it just showed you, didn't it? And the character of the team as well on Saturday.
Yeah, you could see that, especially with the backline, the experienced players like Michael Bostwick and Zach Mills pairing at centre back. Wow, that was amazing to see. Didn't let anything drop, didn't let anything go, and they were just everywhere, all over the pitch, just sweeping that ball and playing it. And that was the key difference, really, is that just over the season, at the right time, we've been getting more defensively solid, and that's helped our form. And then we had the little flurry of goals from the goal scorers that boosted up into the playoffs, and we just sort of kept that defensive rigidity, and we stayed where we are. And we're lucky to be where we are now. We snuck in 6th. We thought we were all going to get 7th, but we take 6th. We're beating Alfreton. We knew that was going to be a hard game against the Billy Heath Hoofball side. Stood up to it again, showing that, like Tom said, showing that mettle. Then we come to Scunthorpe, the favourite, in front of the biggest crowd the level has ever seen, and we can do a job there. So who says we can't go to Brackley on Saturday and do a job on them as well and get back to that favourable first tier of non-league football?
Yeah, of course. And just a quick note on Scunthorpe. And Joe, you've probably seen them a couple of times this season, a few more times than we have. I mean, where do you think this does lead Scunthorpe now? Do you think that they can push on next season, or do you think they're going to have to sacrifice some players? How do you think it's going to go for them?
I think you guys hit the nail on the head with sort of walking the league, and like I say, looking on paper, they are the biggest team effectively in that league. And I think, speaking to a couple of Scunthorpe fans, whether they want Jimmy Dean out, whether they want us to keep him in, I don't know. I think they might see how the first maybe 5-10 games go next season and maybe make a judgment. But then you might go argue, is that too late? Do you make the decision now and get rid of him at the end of the season and maybe bring someone in? And I think they've brought in a lot of good players. Certainly, Danny Elliott being one that you guys know very, very well. But I think with Scunthorpe, I think one thing they don't want to do is be what Stockport were and, get into this kind of habit of a big fish in a small pond where I don't think they've truly accepted where they are as a football club. I think there's still a lot of sort of creases, and maybe that's down to the stuff that's happened previously over the last sort of 12, 18 months where, they've had an owner which is basically almost ran them into the ground and they're having to recover from that. And I think for me going forward, I think next season, I think it's going to be huge for them. I think, you look at the teams that are coming down. I think York City be a team that's going to be really favourites for the title to try and get themselves back up. And even probably some of the teams that have been in this, been in the playoffs, say if Brackley don't go up, they're certainly going to be favourites to win the league. Will certainly be up there next season. So it's a big season for Scunthorpe next season. Again, they've got a lot of players dependent of, well, we don't know what their wage bill's going to be like or what it is at the moment. So I think they may have to offload a few players, but we'll see. I think, like I say, everyone's going to be gunning for them next season. So yeah, they are. Let's say, I think the big situation, I think at the moment is going to be the manager, whether they stick with him or whether they maybe change him. I think that's going to be the big call.
I think the National League North next season is going to be quite tough to get out of, even tougher. I mean, I think I saw last night Macclesfield beat Worksop as well last night. So, they could be heading for the final and possibly coming up as well, which is going to be another tough game. Yeah, that league just seems to get tougher and tougher every year. So, right, we're going to talk to you, Joe, about your YouTube channel. You've got a YouTube channel called Match Days. So tell us more about it.
So I started the channel in 2018. So I've been sort of dabbling with the idea of starting a YouTube channel for about a year when I was at university, and sort of around the August 2018, I just went, right, I'm just going to go with this idea. And here I am. Well, it's coming up to 6 years now. And
Wow.
There's been a lot of blood, a lot of sweat, a lot of tears that have gone into the channel and growing it over time. But it's been fantastic. And like I say, I've been able to go up and down the country, and non-league has really been sort of the main sort of focal point for the channel, where I will do Donny Rovers games when I can, and sort of not being trying to pigeonhole too much to just being a Donny Rovers vlogger and so on. I want to kind of show the rest of the country that there are teams beyond the Football League, and I mean, there's been some great YouTubers that I've sort of taken inspiration with, likes of Ellis Platten and Smith, who are my big inspirations for the channel and how to kind of grow it. But for me, YouTube it's really become my life over time now, and it's great that over, I'd say, the last 2 years, where I think the channel's really taken off, that I've been able to come and do teams like Boston and teams in the National League and kind of see what the fan bases have been. And I think over time, like I say, over this season where I've gone and seen Boston in the playoffs, and the nice thing about it is I feel like there's a family connection with it. And the great thing about making the videos as well is that I tend to look back on them at the end of the season and go, wow, those events actually happened. Like, those goals actually went in. Like, this season, I followed Worksop Town to the first round of the FA Cup, and it was such a great journey to be on. And and YouTube has really kind of helped me fall back in love with football again, and got to kind of document stories and show them to the world. So I think the great thing about YouTube and what I've done over the last 5.5 years is it's something that it's not become a hobby anymore for me. It's actually become a real passion, and I kind of see it as a job. Like, I see it as something that one day that I could really make something out of it, and even make it to the media companies in the world and actually become something of it.
So I've seen you've done some commentary as well, haven't you, for football, which has been really good as well.
Well, funny enough, I actually did your Russia Olympic game early in the season, which you won, and it wasn't the best game that I commentated, but you got over the line. And like I say, it was great to see all your fans. It was really good. But yeah, it was doing the commentary. I do a lot of it for the women's game on a Sunday, and it's fantastic. And I'm very, very lucky that this Sunday I'm actually going to be at Wembley for the National League playoff final, which is going to be fulfilling a dream, really, that I'm going to be in the box seeing Solihull Moors against Bromley, and it's absolutely fantastic. And like I say, commentary, I think, is something I want to go down, and the route that I want to go down with, like, be the next. Well, I don't want to be the next Martin Tyler, because it'll put everyone to sleep. But I do enjoy doing it. It's like I say, I can get carried away with it, because I think I am a football fan at the end of the day, so my passion does come out. But yeah, it's media's really taken over my life over the last, I'd say, 5-10 years of it.
Well, it's something we've all got in common, because obviously we've all commentated on Boston United games as well. So during the last few years, so we've all got that in common. So we've done commentary as well. So
it's certainly not an easy gig, is it, at all, to do? I don't think, especially commentating on your own team, like you say. It's people don't understand just how hard it is, and David will tell you just how hard it is. David's just come in the last few games, haven't you, mate? And it's a tough gig. It's hard, especially when they're not winning or it's not going the way you want it to try and then portray that to the people out there. It's not easy, is it, at all?
No.
Yeah.
Go on.
Sorry, your emotions get over you. That is something I come into, and I was like, oh, okay, I can do this. I thought Endeavour were offering me the opportunity to do it, and I said, go on then. I knew a few of the people that did. I said, go on then, I'll give it a try. And it seems something interesting, and it might be something that I want to do in the future. And it's nice to know that other people, like, this has really come in and grown in the past few years, this media presence in football. It wasn't really there about 10-15 years ago. Now it's just offering people loads and loads of opportunities and lots of moments where you experience some of the best feelings in your life. Like, I remember when that first goal went in, I was quite emotional that I got to commentate on a Boston game. But like you say, it's really, really hard to, you can't let your emotions drip out too much, or else you end up like I did one game shouting. But it's all to learn. It's all to learn, and we all strive to be the best that we can be, and the best package it can be at the end of it, hopefully.
Yeah, definitely have to agree with you on that one. So, how many games, Joe, have you been to this season?
Well, I can actually find out for you right now because it's definitely over 100 because I was
Oh,
actually looking
wow.
for the day. Like that's not including all the women's games I've done, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's been off the charts. This is probably the biggest season I've done for the channel, like, and even for my football because before that the job I had before, like, be working on Saturday, so I never got the chance to actually get to games, or if I did, it'd be within an hour. So I never got to kind of see, like, go further afield. In fact, I've just actually got the stats up when it loads up. Come on. So currently this season I've done 104 games.
Wow.
So it's crazy what I've had this season. There's been so many, like, I was thinking back, like, to even like the Boston games I've done for the channel. The first one I did, and I remember this well, it was the semi-final of the Lincolnshire Cup. You played Gainsborough, and Jordan Preston scored that night. And because Gainsborough went on to get 2 late goals and get through to the final and played Scunny, albeit Gainsborough probably should have won that and should have had a controversial penalty. But that was good. That was a very good night. And I think was that 21-22? It was, because then that was when I started seeing Boston a bit more, because then the next time I saw them was York City in the league when Danny Elliott scored the beauty.
Oh yeah.
That Tuesday night, yeah.
It was a Tuesday night, yeah. I was actually in the York City end. I thought, yeah, York will win, and I end up jinxing it, and Boston end up winning. And I think that was the only thing I remember, because I don't remember the game being that great. I just remember that moment because it was such a brilliant goal. And then yeah, it would have been the semi-final against Fylde. That would have been the next one, where it was just an unbelievable day. Like, just I say it to people now, like, it was probably one of the best days I ever did with that season, where the funny thing is Boston took half of the stadium allocation because there was 1,200 and Boston took 600. And I remember being so, because Paul Green were playing and he was just pulling the strings in midfield. It was absolutely class. At his age, I think he was 38 then, 39, and he's just there pulling the strings, and you're going, how is he playing at this level and just playing? And you could tell he was still a class player, but yeah, the absolute scenes on the video for that was just incredible. Just beer flying everywhere. The sombreros were there as well, which was great.
What's been your favourite game you've covered ever then, Joe?
There's two that I've covered. There's two. One was the semi-final of the FA Trophy. It was in the first season on the channel. It was Stockport against Fylde when Danny Rose scored a winning goal, and because it was controversial, they scored. Stockport went 2-1. It brought it back to 2-2. Danny Rose scored the winner, and then a Stockport fan jumped the barricade and confronted Danny Rowe. And it was absolutely insane. That was the first video that went properly viral for me. It was just brilliant. I'd probably say the Fylde one would be the second, just because of the day itself. And I think I didn't get home till about 8-9 o'clock at night, and having to edit it all the way to the wee hours. It was such a brilliant day. I mean, the weather was perfect. The game was perfect. I think everything just fell into place that day. Yeah, I think the majority of the games I've done, like the best games I've done, have always been non-league. You just can't beat it. That's why, like, I go back and like, it's just what drives me forward for 5.5 years now. There's been some cracking games I've had on the channel. Too many to actually put into a top 5, but those two really stick out in my head.
Okay, then reverse it as well. Has anybody not been receptive to you, or have you not been allowed anywhere, or any situations where you think, oh geez, what have I done here trying to record this team and they really don't want me here?
There was one incident last season which really annoyed me, because all the time I've been to the ground, I've had no problem whatsoever vlogging and filming. It was non-league day last season when I went to watch Altrincham against Southend, and there was a steward that I had my camera, I was vlogging, I was doing everything like I normally would do. And he kept coming to me saying, you can't have this camera and all this. And I'm like, well, it's the National League. You can't, there's no, I'd understand if it was the Football League, but, and he's like, no, put it away. So I'm like, oh, whatever then. So I put it away, kept doing it. He's like, hey, if you keep doing that, I'm going to chuck you out. But this was just during the first half. So when Ultragun was shooting the other end, so when the second half came and everyone was kind of bunched together, I was able to like hide in the middle. So I got away with it. But I think that steward, I don't know whether it was just, I don't know whether it's because he's not really, I don't know, being in the ground, he's not really seen it. I don't know. It's hard to say, or whether he just had a bee in the bonnet for me. It's hard to, I'll never know. But that was one of the very few occasions where that's ever happened, where a steward has gone, but certainly at the National League or like below the Football League, gone, hey, can't film. But I've never had that before. It was just like, what are you doing? Like yeah, like even like I could always get someone from the football, because like there's a few at the football club that know me anyway. They've been down, they've seen my videos before, so I could always get like, oh, I could always get someone to. But I think he was just, when I don't know whether someone, when someone gets a little bit of power and they want to throw their weight around. I think it was a bit like that, really.
You mentioned earlier that you mentioned Doncaster Rovers. Is that the team you support?
Yeah, Doncaster. Yeah, my hometown club. But yeah, Donny through and through. I've got a tattoo of Donny right there. Don't ask me why I've got it. That was, I thought when I was 20 years old, I thought, yeah, let's go and get a tattoo of Donny Rovers on my shoulder. Looking back, and like my missus looks at it now and goes, why did you ever get that? I'm like, I thought it was cool at the time.
And of course, you've had Tom Nixon there this season, who was at Boston United last season and did very well with us. How has he done at Doncaster? Has he played much?
Yeah, he's played much, really. I mean, he's had a solid season. He's had a couple of injuries, but he's had a solid season really at the football club. And I think the great thing about what Grant McCann's done is he's not brought in big time Charlies or anything like that. He's brought in young players who are really, really hungry, and he's been given a lot of good game time as well. And he scored a brilliant goal against Mansfield on the volley, which I was able to catch. So I'm really, really pleased with that. But yeah, no, he's had a good season. Like say, hope for next season. But you've had Deji off us on loan. What have you made of him? And if he were to go up, would you like him to come back for another season on loan?
Well, he's been right. He has this moment, the renowned moment that everybody in Boston United this season thinks it was a pivotal moment in this season. And this is where, I can't remember who it was, but he was arguing with Jimmy Knowles, our top scorer at the time, for a penalty, and he gets the penalty off him and misses. Then the fan base gets on his back, right? Mm-hmm. And this is on the lead up to the playoffs. And as he has a little break from the squad as well, I don't know whether that's just oh, you should have followed the plan, because I'm assuming, I think Martin Woods, who our main penalty taker, went off that game, and then Jimmy Knowles was set to take it. But I don't know if he was like excluded from the team for a bit or something like that. I don't know the ins and outs of it really. But he's been coming back in recently, and he seems like a changed man. He always used to take the ball up the pitch and not really contribute. There was always this stigma about him that people thought he thought he was too big for the club. Obviously, with his history, he's got rich history. Man United youth, Lille, I believe, whilst Patrick Vieira was there. He's got a rich youth, and people just thought, oh, he might be a bit too big for his boots. But I have to say, recently he's really come into his own. He's sort of passing it a bit more, and he looks a bit more involved. I don't know what's happened, but the management staff have done a really, really good job to sort of include him a bit more. And now we're seeing the fruitions come in. I mean, when you've got tired legs on 70 minutes, there's no better player than him to come on and just tire those defenders out. And that's exactly what he does. And it just helps the team. And like you say, you also see he's quite involved now. I believe he also was like a bit secluded. We know how loans work at this level. They don't train with the team all the time, but when they do train, that there's not much time. But like you say, he's getting involved now, and it's nice to see. And it's nice to see it's all coming together at the right time. And like I said many times this episode, it needs to be at its best, and he will be at his best, and the team needs to be at its best for Saturday's playoff final.
Tom?
Yeah,
100%.
totally agree. Echo what David said. Could be an absolute pivotal part from Saturday, couldn't it? If we need a goal or we need just to get ourselves up the pitch again and find ourselves on the right end of the result at that time. Yeah, could be an absolute masterpiece by them. But like David said, I think that time out the squad's done him good. I think people forget how young he is, though. He's such a young guy, isn't he? You know, he's quite raw in terms of. I mean, he's had, like you said, a pedigree. He's ridiculous, really, isn't it? For such a young chap, it could have been too much for him very early on. So I think you've got a player in the making there, though, but you just need moulding a little bit. And this game time out is only going to do him good, isn't it, at this level, just to be able to get him some minutes on the pitch and build him up for what he potentially could be. But yeah, no, the signs are there. And like you say, it was great to see him embracing with the fans as well on Saturday. He was one who was definitely over there with the fans, having his picture taken and all that, wasn't he? Good on him. And like you say, I think he may have just come on and grown up a little bit as the season's gone on, which can only be good going forward. And
I did notice as well, when he scored his penalty, he actually kissed the badge. I don't know if you know, I've seen that on the replays, that he actually kissed the badge.
Don't tell Joe
that. Sorry. Yeah. I mean, do you know any plans with Doncaster? Are they looking to get him back? Are they looking to maybe release him? Do you know what the plan might be at the moment, or is it too early?
Probably too early to say. I think at the moment, given that Rovers have got a massive playoff semi-final, and then which I like to think we can get through. I think we've got, to say the run that we've been on, 12 unbeaten, 10 wins in a row. It's been absolutely phenomenal what we've done since, over the last 2 months. It's incredible the fact that we were 4th or 5th bottom in League Two, and now, we've taken 33 points out of a possible 36. Is absolutely astonishing. Like, I think if the league had started 2 months ago, we'd have won the league by then. But at the moment, I've not heard anything, not heard any plans. I think I'd like to give him an opportunity. If we were to get to League One, I'd love to give him a chance at the level, and it'd be a good person to bring on as an impact player. I think there's a lot of players at the minute with us in terms of the forward players. I think maybe we might see 1 or 2 leave in the summer, but I think he'd be a player that I think Graham McCann would certainly like to have. And I think he reminds me a little bit of Malik Wilkes when we had him on loan when he came from Leeds United, where raw talent, good player. He's got that drive, he's got that determination for what I've seen over the last couple of games I've seen with Boston. And I think that will continue to grow. I think if he gets that end product that he has, that gets that sorted, I think we could have a really good player, key player on our hands.
Hopefully he won't do so well and they'll release him then, and he'll come back to us. Fingers crossed. So Joe, where can people find you on socials if they want to?
So my Twitter is @JoeSkelton10, and on Instagram it's JoeSkelton999. I don't know why that is, but let's just roll with it.
And of course, it's Match Days on YouTube as well. Fantastic. So yeah, anyone watching or listening, do go along to YouTube and have a look for sure. It's really good. Some great videos on there. So we're going to talk Brackley now. We've got Brackley this Saturday. It's the playoff final. Stedders, what's your feeling?
Well, first of all, I'm glad you said Brackley, not Alfreton. My gut feeling, Damo, shoot me if I'm wrong and pull me down if you want to, gents, but I actually don't think this is going to be as hard a game as Saturday just gone. I think that was probably the pivotal time. I actually think that Boston might actually turn on the style and win this game 2-0 is my prediction as well. If you want, I knew you were going to come to a prediction, so I might as well give you it now. No, I feel as though if they sit in the defensive line as they have done in the last 4 games. The last time we conceded was against these guys at home, which is an unbelievable stat this end of the season. To have that defensive line and Cameron Gregory doing the things they do, if they keep that 0, I said it again, very similar to the Scunthorpe game plan. Keep the 0 for as long as you can, stay in the game. And I actually think that them 2 up front will actually grab a goal each, and Knowles and Mooney will come out and get us a goal each. And then we'll bring on the likes of Tatona, the likes of Giassi to see the game out. But yeah, I'm actually quite confident this time that Boston will get over the line. We're ticking out all the boxes that we haven't done before, haven't we? What was it? We bottled in front of a big gate. Well, that's ticked. We won't be able to pick up points against Tamworth, the top sides, and ones in the playoffs. We've apart from Brackley, we have done that as well. So to me, there's a lot of omens that are going our way at the minute. And I just think the stars are aligned that this could actually be Boston's time to go and get back into that National League. So yeah, 2-0 victory for me, Damo. Don't mean it's going to be easy, no, by any stretch of the imagination, but I just think it might be an easier task than the Scunthorpe game.
Well, I've noticed the last 3 at Brackley was in 2022, Boston won 1-0. In 25th of October 22, the next season, Brackley won 1-0, and then Brackley won 2-1 against Boston. But looking back at the record, it's not too bad. You know, we've won a few games there. So, you know, I mean, I think, like you say, I think form is on Boston's side at the moment. Brackley did look very organised when they came down to Boston a few weeks back. Looked very good. Passing was fantastic. But like you say, I think we've turned over a new leaf now, and I think it's our time to go there and finally get a win. I'm going 2-1 to Boston. David?
Yeah, that sounds a bit safer than me. I don't know what's happened to you, Tom. You might have fell down with some, but yeah, Brackley are a really, really good side for their level. They're like us. You could describe us as the nearly men. We're thereabouts every year. We always fall, but it's one club's time, and I'm feeling Boston. I think it's going to be Boston if we play the way we play. They do have some quality players, but if we play the way we play, get the ball on the floor and just be expressive with the ball, move it about, try and shift them. They've got some very, very good players. Shepherd, Ricardo Calder, and Gareth Dean, perhaps the league's best centre-back. Like anything, you can throw anything at it and he'd boot it straight back. They're really, really quality side. Also, Danny Lewis in goal, who's won the Golden Glove for like the past 5 years in a row or whatever, and he's like 40 odd. So it's mental. Yeah, but I feel it's different. I've said this many times. It's different this year. They're younger. There's more drive. They seem like they want it more than ever. And I'm gonna go for 2-1 Boston. Yeah, I think.
Joe, what do you reckon?
Well, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. And I think at the minute with Boston, I think, as I said at the top of the podcast, I think they've got to go for it, regardless of what's happened before in terms of the final. Like, you know, can they right the wrong of 2 years ago, losing out to York City? I think they can. I think it's going to be tough. Let's say Brackley they've been a terrific side over the last couple of seasons, and probably a little bit unfortunate not to go up, given the squad they've had. But I just think Boston at the minute, as you're right, I think they've just got that bit between the teeth. They've got that togetherness. They've come through 2 really tough games, and to say they've played 240 minutes of football, you know, it's, you know, the one thing I think they'll be sort of thinking, like, let's not, you know, let's hope that's not going to be, it could be too tiring for us. You know, Alfreton have got theirs done in 90 minutes. You know, I like to think, could it be ending 90 minutes? I'm going to say no. I think it's going to go all the way. I'm going to say,
Don't say it.
I'm going to say 1-1, and I'm going to say Boston to win on penalties.
Oh, not again. I don't know if I can cope with another penalty shootout. Oh, no. Well, hopefully you're wrong on that one and Boston can win it in normal time. Fingers crossed. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting game, though. Really looking forward to it. And yeah, hopefully. I mean, we've had a few issues with tickets, hasn't there, for the game. People have struggled to get tickets. Unfortunately, it's not the biggest of grounds at Brackley, but hopefully people. I mean, we've just heard that they're going to put a screen at the Jakemans for the supporters that can't get there. So hopefully everyone will be able to watch it somehow on come Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, 900 the allocation, wasn't it, in the end?
Yeah.
Apparently it was 1,000 originally, but due to the Chorley misbehaving, they've had to cut that by 100. I was hearing on the radio yesterday. Hence the reason it was 900, which is still more than we got at York City, strangely enough. But obviously York City are much better home-supported club than Brackley will be. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see actually how many home fans make it in there and to challenge us 900. Yeah, it's going to be an absolute electric atmosphere, and it's going to be fantastic down there. And like you say, we'll be there to cheer our boys on. I know at least 3 of the 4 of us have got tickets, and we've got fingers crossed for Joe for in the morning that he's going to get one as well. And so if anybody gets to see this beforehand and got a spare one, get in touch with Joe, because we'd love to see him, because he's a good omen as well for us. So yeah, but no, it should be a fantastic occasion for the 900 that managed to get there. And like you say, you know, maybe an argument for another day about the neutral grounds and doing things differently. But yeah, no, the 900 that will be there, I'm sure, will make some noise and get right behind them.
Absolutely. Yeah, looking forward to it. Well, that's it for another show. My thanks to David and to Stedders, and special thanks to Joe as well for joining us today. All the best, and we hope to see you at many more Boston games in the future. And if you do see him, go and say hi. We will, of course, be back next week with all the talk of what happened on Saturday and looking back at the season as well. And if you like what you've heard, then please subscribe. We are on Apple Music, we are on Amazon Music, and we are on Spotify. And we are also on YouTube. You can watch us on YouTube. Just search for Up the Pilgrims. So Saturday, it comes down to one game, and that is it. Brackley against Boston. Let's hope for a victory. Thank you, guys. And up the Pilgrims.
Up the Pilgrims.
Up the Pilgrims.